Hello, sound check. How's everyone doing? Sir Howard here. Today I want to continue my series on the topic of anger. If I'm not mistaken, this is part 3 of my discussion so far on how to effectively deal with anger. Doon sa part 1 ng discussion natin, I just started discussing the basic principles of anger. And then part 2, I talk about a psychological technique na pwede nyong gamitin to handle anger effectively, and that's called cognitive reframing. You can just watch that video if you like after this. And for today's video, part 3, I will be talking about another technique that we can use on how to help ourselves effectively handle anger. So mamaya i-reveal ko kung ano ba yung pangalan nung technique na yan and how to do it. But before I reveal that technique, let me just start again by reminding everyone that it's very unrealistic for us to expect that we can totally eliminate anger. It won't happen. It won't happen. So let's not make it our goal na meron tayo mga pwedeng gawin para totally hindi na tayo magagalit. Anger is universal. All people get angry. There is no way that we can totally eliminate anger. So we should not make that our expectation because we will just end up being disappointed. Magagalit at magagalit tayo. Rather, a more realistic expectation is the one written in James 1:19 where it says, we need to be slow to anger. James 1:19. So the Bible is acknowledging that, hey, we can get angry. It's okay to get angry. It's just that we need to be slow in getting angry. And just to add, no? Hindi lang basta-basta slow to get angry. Dapat din kapag nagalit tayo, the intensity of our anger is not too much. Nasa manageable level pa rin. Hindi tayo nag-undergo ng tinatawag na emotional hijack where our anger gets a hold of our entire being or of our entire psyche. That's what you mean by a manageable anger. Nakokontrol mo pa yung sarili mo, alam mo pa yung ginagawa mo, and you are still on top of your anger. So that's what we want. Kapag nakakaranas tayo ng galit, yung intensity hindi ganon katindi. So another technique that we can use to effectively deal with anger para mas maging manageable siya is what we call anticipation. From the root word anticipate, and based on the picture, ang ginagawa natin sa anticipation is we look forward to something that is happening. In this case, we look forward that one day or in one situation, somewhere along the way, we will get angry. Magagalit at magagalit tayo, no? Tinatanggap natin or in our heads, we are open to the possibility that, hey, today, I am going to get angry. I see an angry or I see a situation right now in my life where I will be angry. You anticipate that a situation will make you angry. You look forward to it. Ngayon, hindi ko lang gawa-gawa yung technique na yan. Ano ba yung logic behind the technique of anticipation in dealing with anger? That's very biblical. In fact, John chapter 16 verse 33 tells us that in this world, we will have trouble. You see the future tense right there, will have. Yung mga troubles na yan exist in the future. Starting right now until later on. Hanggang matulog ka, hanggang bukas pagising mo, hanggang sa isang bukas, hanggang sa next year, along the way, there will be troubles, and those troubles, some of those troubles are enough to make you feel angry. So we need to expect talaga na there is always a possibility that every day we will get angry. That's what you mean by anticipation. Now you might ask me, what is the logic behind anticipating future anger? Ano ba yung mga benefits niyan? Number 1, anticipated anger is anger less intensified. I like this principle. Let me repeat. Anticipated anger is anger less intensified. Sa Tagalog, kapag ina-anticipate mo yung situation that can make you feel angry, at totoo nga na nangyari yung situation ngayon, nagalit ka nga, ang maganda doon, yung galit na mararanasan mo out of that anticipation, it's no longer as intensified as compared to you were caught by surprise. I want you to remember those words, caught by surprise, because this is very related to one rule or one law in the psychology of human emotions. Alam nyo ba na ang mga emotions that come out from us out of surprise are more intensified? Kapag ang tao nasusurpresa sa isang situation, anumang emotion yung lalabas from that person out of that situation where a person was caught by surprise, it will be in greater intensity. Like for example, fear. Kapag merong nangyari na situation sa'yo na nagpalabas ng takot mo, and that situation is something that you were caught by surprise, that fear will have a stronger intensity compared to when that situation is something that you already know will happen. Halimbawa, hindi mo inaasahan na i-injectionan ka ngayon. Biglang may nangyari sa'yo, let's say may medical emergency, you never expected that today is the day you'll get injected. Yun ang problema, takot ka sa injection. And you never expected that today you will get injected. The fear that you will experience because of that situation na i-injectionan ka will be much stronger compared to nakaschedule na yung pag-i-injection sa'yo. Kasi alam mo na kapag nakaschedule na yung pag-i-injection sa'yo, na-anticipate mo na, yung intensity of fear hindi siya ganun kalakas compared to kung nasurpresa ka that you will be injected. The same principle goes with positive emotions such as happiness. Yung kaligayahan mo, kapag lumabas yan out of a situation where you never thought will happen, mas malakas yan. Like for example, sinurpresa ka ng best friend mo. 10 years mo na siyang hindi nakikita, miss na miss mo na yung best friend mo, and then one day you came home, you opened your door, and your best friend surprised you at your place. Now, your level of happiness in that case, sobrang taas ang intensity niyan. Compared to, nakaschedule na yung best friend mo na bisitahin ka after many years. Kapag nilook forward mo na yung best friend mo bibisita, alam mo na bibisita yung best friend mo, magiging masaya ka pa rin, yes, but the intensity of the emotion of happiness will be lower compared to when your best friend surprised you. And the same principle goes with the emotion of anger, yung pinag-uusapan natin ngayon. Kapag yung anger mo is something or kapag yung anger mo, naranasan mo yan from a situation where you are caught by surprise, biglang may nangyari na nagpagalit sa'yo at yung pangyayaring yon, never mo in-expect, the intensity of your anger will be much stronger compared to when more or less you already expected that you will get angry. So doon nang gagaling yung technique ng anticipation. Yun yung logic. I hope you got that. Kapag ini-expect mo na kasi na araw-araw, because you are living in a troubled world, in a fallen world, anytime you can get angry, when you get angry, when situations happen that makes you feel angry, guess what? Yung intensity ng anger mo, hindi na siya ganun katindi. Okay, siguro para mas maganda, bigyan natin ng example, no? For example, how do we apply that principle in traffic? Maraming tao nagagalit sa traffic. The thing is, yung anger mo from the traffic situation becomes less intensified when more or less you already know na matatraffic ka. Gumising ka ng umaga, nagbihis ka, and then you have an open mind that, hey, today, I know it will be traffic. Ine-expect mo na kasi talagang yung road na dinadaan mo, laging traffic doon. So you already conditioned your mind, you already conditioned yourself that it will be traffic. Ano mangyayari? Sa oras na traffic nga, nag-drive ka at traffic nga. Will you get angry? Yes. but the intensity will not be that powerful because you already anticipated that in your mind. Compared to, hindi mo ine-expect na traffic. Akala mo kasi holiday, walang traffic. Akala mo naman kasi yung oras, ito yung oras na wala masyadong bumabiyahe. So, you never expected it will be traffic, pero naging traffic. Tendency is, your anger in that situation will be much more intensified. So, yun yung logic kung bakit kinakailangan i-anticipate talaga natin that anytime we will face situations where it will make us angry. Number 2, another benefit of anticipation. Anticipated anger generates preparation. Because you can anticipate a situation that can make you feel angry in the future, pwede ka na ngayong mag-prepare. Diba? Kasi when we are able to see something in the future, paparating sa atin ngayon, pwede nating paghandaan. And that preparation that you will make when those situations come that make you feel angry will help you to make your anger become more manageable. Again, let's go back to the example of traffic. Paano natin i-apply yung preparation para kapag nangyari nga yung traffic, hindi ganon ka-powerful yung mararamdaman nating anger, right? Okay. One of the things you need to remember about anger in connection to preparation is yung anger kasi natin, nahati yan sa dalawang phases. Meron tayong tinatawag na, before phase and the during phase. Or should I call this the spark phase and the fire phase. Yung spark phase, ibig sabihin yan, ito yung mga little things that you feel na alam mong papunta ka na sa galit. Kasi ang galit naman, hindi naman yan hindi naman yan all of a sudden may nangyari, boom, galit ka na kaagad. It starts with little sparks in our emotions that leads to a full-blown anger. Number 2, meron din tayong tinatawag na during phase or the fire phase. Ito na yung sinasabi nating full-blown anger na yan. See, ina-anticipate na natin na ito yung pagdaraanan natin when we are faced with situations that can make us feel angry. So what do? In connection to anticipation, we develop action plans. You simply answer this question. What to do if I'm angry? What to do if I already feel the spark? What should I do if I am already on fire and I am already in full-blown anger? So dapat meron ka ng mga plano dyan. More or less alam mo na yung gagawin mo when you are in either of those phases. Now let me help you develop action plans for the spark phase and the fire phase. Halimbawa, nandoon ka na sa spark phase. What are some of these tips na pwede mong gawin? Because you anticipate that anytime you can feel that spark that can potentially make you feel very angry. Usually, mararamdaman mo muna yan sa mga senyales na yan, di ba? Pinagpapawisan ka, namumula yung mukha mo, bumibilis yung pintig ng puso mo, yung fist mo, kiniklench mo na, gusto mo nang manapak. Now, once you feel these things, and you will feel these things kapag talagang meron kang situation na nagpapagalit sa'yo, you will feel these things, you need to have an action plan. Anong gagawin mo once you already know na papunta ka na sa full-blown anger? Okay, some tips that you can do. Number 1, you need to really do distraction. Alright? Distraction. Kapag nararamdaman mo na nandoon ka na sa spark phase, you know that you are getting towards full-blown anger, you can choose to distract yourself. And in what way can you distract yourself? Well, remember the principle. Palakihin lang natin to. The anger energies come from the lower part of the brain. So yung mga irritations, nandyan yan, red face, fast heartbeat, it all starts here. Once you feel this, you don't like these energies to take over the upper part of the brain. Question, what can you do para yung mga energies dito sa lower part of the brain will not take over the upper part of the brain? We need to make this part of the brain work. That's the only way that you can shield the upper part of the brain against the effects of the lower part of the brain. Papaganahin mo yung upper region of the brain. You need to be rational. And that is where distraction enters. Paano mo i-distract yung sarili mo by doing things that will make the upper part of the brain work, such as what? If you do the following activities. Papaganahin mo yung upper part of the brain mo, no? Magbasa ka ng comics, mag-solve ka ng Rubik's Cube, you watch a calming video, or mag-solve ka ng mathematical equation. Seems weird, it seems odd, but the logic behind this distraction is you are making the upper region of your brain work. Ginagawa mong rational. Pinapairal mo yung reasoning mo para hindi siya, para nasishield siya from the negative effects of those emotions from the lower part of the brain. The more you think logically, the more you think rationally, the more you are shielding the upper part of the brain from the effects of the lower part of the brain. Yun yung logic nung sinasabi nating distraction. Okay, again, you can add some other techniques here. No? Basta ang idea lang, yung technique na gagamitin mo is something that will make your upper region of the brain work. And in fact, kung i-connect natin to sa mga current events, no, if you still remember that case of the police officer who killed 2 people, binaril niya harap-harapan, no? Yan dapat yung ginawa niya eh. Alam niya niyang na meron na siyang spark. Meron na siyang mga nararamdaman na masama papunta sa full-blown anger. He should have already distracted himself in that situation. Okay? Marami nangyayari sa environment. Siguro, marami na siyang spark na nararamdaman. Dapat dinistract na niya yung sarili niya. Pinagana na niya yung upper region of the brain niya. But if you watch the video, wala siyang ginagawa eh. Nakatayo lang talaga siya doon. He stayed in the situation. He was not distracting himself. In fact, he was very focused on the situation that made him feel angry. Kaya ano nangyari? One moment he snapped and he was able to do something that he should not supposed to do na pinagsisihan niya in the future. Alright, so ganun dapat yung action plan natin, no? Nasa spark phase pa lang tayo, we already have a variety of strategies to make our upper region of the brain work so that the lower region of the brain will not take over the upper region of the brain. Another set of action plans that you can do while you are in the spark phase is to use certain words that make you relaxed. In clinical psychology, they call this trigger words, no, or verbalization cues, depende sa textbook, no, pero ang idea, whenever you say this word, it makes you feel relaxed. Like a very popular word in anger management is the word wusa. Maraming mga taong ganyan, kapag nararamdaman nila they are about to explode, wusa, they say the word wusa and it relaxes their minds. Or maybe you can also visualize certain images in your mind that will relax you. Like for some people, whenever they think of a rainbow, nare-relax sila. So when they sense that they are in the spark phase, they think of a rainbow. Or maybe they think of a moment in their life where they are very relaxed. Binivisualize nila yung sarili nila na nasa Boracay. Binivisualize nila yung sarili nila na nagsha-shopping. And those visualization that people do, studies show, it helps lower down the intensity of anger that they are feeling. At syempre pa, wag natin i-underestimate the power of prayer every time that we feel the spark. Alam natin that anytime we can explode to become too angry, let's pray about it before it happens. In fact, it would even help, no? Kung meron din tayo mga Bible verse na alam, na i-recite kapag nandoon tayo sa spark phase to prevent us from getting into full-blown anger. One Bible verse I highly recommend, and I think I already shared this, yung aking life verse, Romans 8:28. Mahirap magalit ang isang tao na talagang naniniwala sa Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Kasi alam mo na lahat ng bagay na nangyayari, God allows it to happen. And God allows that to happen because He wants to teach you something, and that teaching that He wants you to learn is something that is good for you. You remember Joseph, the dreamer, in the book of Genesis, mahirap magalit ang isang taong naniniwala sa Romans 8:28. So you may also memorize other Bible verses na pwede nyong i-recite every time that you feel that you are about to get really angry. And of course, another strategy na sa tingin ko, very effective din, no, in dealing with anger during the spark phase is to walk out the situation. Bago ka pa sumabog, bago ka pa makagawa ng mga bagay na hindi mo dapat gawin, it would make sense to get out of the situation, process your thoughts first, let the spark go away before you effectively deal with that situation again. Iko-connect na naman natin to doon sa police officer na namarel ng dalawang tao. Yan dapat ang ginawa niya. Dapat nag-walk out na lang siya. Alam niya na meron na siyang mga nararamdaman. Alam niya na meron siyang dalang barel. Para hindi niya magawa sana yung pamamarel, ang dapat ginawa niya, nag-walk out na lang siya, get himself out of that situation para wala nang nadamay. But again, if you watch the video, he did not walk out. Yun yung mali niyang ginawa. He stayed in the situation. He did not put himself away from that situation that was making him feel really angry. Kaya hindi naging maganda yung kanyang ending. Okay? So yun yung mga pwede nating gawin, no, kapag nararamdaman na natin yung spark towards a full-blown anger. Now, let me just summarize. Yung numbers 1, 2, and 3, these strategies have something in common. And what is that? All these strategies will prevent us from developing a full-blown anger. Hindi na niya palalakihin yung spark na nararamdaman natin emotionally to become a full-blown anger. Why? Kasi yung tatlong yan, it prevents us from further processing the situation. Doon naman kasi nanggagaling yung full-blown na galit eh. No? Yung kapag lagi mong pinoproseso, no? Lagi mong pinoproseso or patuloy mong pinoproseso yung mga bagay na nagpapagalit sa'yo. Doon tayo na out of control. Something starts small and then may isip ka na mga maliliit na bagay, and then instead of distracting yourself from thinking about those ideas, those thoughts, what you do is you keep on thinking about those thoughts. Ano nangyayari? The spark becomes a fire. Let me demonstrate. Halimbawa, may nangyari in your environment, biglang, boom, naramdaman mo yung spark. Right? Hindi niya dinala yung pinadala ko. Yun yung nangyari. So, meron ka ng irritation doon. No? Meron kang pinadala, hindi niya dinala. Instead of distracting yourself here, pinairal mo na yung upper part of the brain mo, naging logical ka na, gumawa ka na ng mga rational things. What most people do is they further process those ideas. Right? Hindi niya dinala yung pinadala ko. And then, next idea, bakit niya kasi hindi dinala? Dapat kasi dinala niya. Tagal-tagal ko na sinabi, dapat talaga dinala niya. Mapapahama kami niyan, hindi niya kasi dinala. There you go. So on and so forth. So what happens? Because you keep on thinking about those thoughts, yung spark na yan, nagiging full-blown anger na. Kasi hindi mo pinigilan yung sarili mo, hindi mo dinistract yung sarili mo from further processing those thoughts that really make you angry. So yan yung logic behind the strategies that I was teaching you. It will stop you from further processing anger thoughts or angry thoughts that can lead you to experience a full-blown anger. Now, how about the time where you are already on fire? Wala ka na sa spark phase, nandoon ka na sa fire phase, talagang super galit ka na. So ano yung mga pwede natin gawin? There is no other way on how to really pacify your anger but to make your upper part of the brain work. Ganun din. Yung upper part of the brain, we will make it work. We want that to work Kapag nasa spark phase, ganun din kapag nasa fire phase ka na. Galit ka na, full-blown angry ka na, kinakailangan gawa ka ulit ng mga paraan on how to make your upper part of the brain work. Now, ano pa yung isang paraan na pwede natin gamitin to make the upper part of the brain work? During the time that you are already angry, you can do compassionate thought. Let me repeat, compassionate thought. Ibig sabihin ng compassionate thought, explain with compassion the reason why the person did the action that made you angry. Explain with compassion reason why the person did the action that made you angry. I-justify mo na yung taong nagpapagalit sa'yo ngayon, right now, meron siyang magandang reason kung bakit niya nagawa yung behavior na yon na nagpapagalit sa'yo. In fact, this is a direct application of Ephesians 4:32 where we are called to be compassionate with one another. Paano tayo magiging compassionate with one another? Magiging understanding tayo sa isa't isa. Kailangan open yung mind natin to the idea that people have done certain things to us that made us feel angry for certain reasons that we need to understand. Para mas malinaw itong technique na ito, let me give you a personal example that personally happened to me. As you all know, meron akong dog, ang pangalan niya si Bruno. One day, we went down, pinalakad-lakad ko si Bruno off leash. So habang nagsi-cellphone ako doon sa baba, no? I suddenly saw one driver sa baba na binato ng stone si Bruno sa ulo. Kasi in-approach siya ni Bruno, inamoy-amoy siya, and so that driver got a piece of stone, binato niya yung aking dog. Now, for those of you who are dog lovers, I'm sure you can empathize with me. Meron ka talagang mararamdaman na galit when you see your pet, when you see your baby being hurt like that. And honestly, during that time, ang bilis ng transition ko, no, from spark to full-blown anger. Talagang nagalit ako, no? I felt those physiological reactions that we talk about. Bumilis yung pintig ng puso ko, pinagpawisan yung aking palms, nag-clench na yung fist ko. I am about to say something, but buti na lang, alam ko yung principles on how to handle anger. I know hindi maganda na makikipag-away ako dun sa baba. Marami makakita. It's not a good thing na merong ganong commotion doon over something like this. So to make the long story short, I applied yung tinatawag kong, compassionate thought. Again, what do we do in compassionate thought? You will explain with compassion the reason why that person did the action that made you angry. Ano ba yung ginawa ng tao that made me feel angry? Binato niya si Bruno. That's the behavior na kinagagalit ko. But deep inside my mind, pinagana ko yung aking upper part of the brain. I started thinking about good reasons why I think that person binato niya si Bruno. And one of the things that I was able to come up with is maybe because kaya niya binato yung dog ko kasi meron siyang trauma sa dogs. Siguro meron siyang phobia sa dogs. Siguro nung maliit pa siya, muntik na siyang makagat ng dog or baka nakagat na siya ng dog. And I know how phobias work. I know what fear can do to human actions. Whenever a person is in a high level of fear, we end up doing things na hindi naman talaga natin dapat ginagawa. Sometimes subconsciously. Siguro yun yung nangyari. Sa sobrang takot niya doon kay Bruno na inaamoy-amoy siya because of his phobia in the past, hindi na siya nakapag-think straight na hindi niya dapat batuhin yung dog. So, yung reason bakit niya binato yung dog, it's not because gusto niya akong pagtripan, it's not because gusto lang niyang masaktan yung dog ko, but the reason why he did that was because of his phobia, because of his irrational fear towards dogs. So, nung naisip ko yung reason na yon, na talagang posible pala yon, medyo nabawas-bawasan yung galit ko. Aaminin ko, galit pa rin ako at that situation. Okay? Galit pa rin ako in that situation, pero yung intensity, big time, napababa ko because of the way I thought about why he did what he did. in-apply ko yung sinasabi ko ngang compassionate thought. Alright, so I hope nakuha nyo no, kung paano ina-apply yung compassionate thought para mapacify nyo yung intensity ng anger nyo. Hanapan nyo ng magandang dahilan, no, kung bakit yung taong yun ginawa niya yung bagay na nagpagalit sa'yo. Now, many students ask me, Sir, paano kung talagang, kung yung iniisip mo, kung yung compassionate thought mo hindi pala totoo? Paano kung tama yung part na pinagtitripan ka lang niya o pinagtitripan lang niya yung dog? Well, again, as I always say, at that point, it doesn't matter. Kasi ang goal lang naman natin is to lessen the intensity of our anger. Ayaw natin gumawa ng mga bagay na ikakasama natin. Ayaw natin gumawa ng mga bagay na baka ikasakit ng ibang tao. No? So at that point, totoo bang may phobia siya sa dog o wala? I don't care. Ang importante sa akin, mas mapacify ko yung anger ko at that moment para hindi na lumaki pa yung nangyari. Mamaya ko nang poproblemahin kung totoo nga ba na meron siyang phobia sa dog o wala. Okay? So I hope that answers some of your questions, no? Number 2, another tip. Kapag galit ka na, you are already in the fire phase. This is a very powerful way also to lessen the intensity of your anger. Remember that you also made someone angry, but those people na ginalit mo, they have forgiven you. They have chosen to let you go. Hindi tayo perfect. Marami rin tayo mga bagay na nagawa in our lives na nagpagalit sa isa pang tao. But many times in our lives, yung mga tao na ginalit natin forgave us. Right? Hindi na lang tayo pinatulan. Hindi na lang nila pinalaki. Inintindi na lang nila tayo. So other people forgave us for something that we did that made them angry. Who are you not to forgive other people? In fact, we can just go back to Ephesians 4:32 about this. Be kind and compassionate to one another. Diniscuss na natin yan. But look at the second part. Forgiving each other. That's a direct command. Forgiving each other. But question, how do you motivate yourself to forgive another person? How do you just let go of that offense that person did that makes you feel angry? The next statement answers that question. Just as Christ, God, forgave you. You see? So Ephesians 4:32 is coaching us here to think in a certain way. Paano mo raw mamomotivate yung sarili mo na magpatawad? Tandaan mo na ikaw mismo, marami kang kasalanan sa Diyos, pero pinatawad ka niya. That is a very powerful thinking pattern. God forgave me. There are many offenses I did that made God angry, but He has chosen to forgive me. Who am I not to forgive my brother or my sister? Kaya nga yung parallel verse niya, no, yung parallel passage nito is the unmerciful servant, the parable of the unmerciful servant. That's exactly the point of that parable. Paano mo kontrolin yung galit mo? And what's the answer? According to the parable of the unmerciful servant, what's the answer? You remember that you were also once forgiven. Kasi di ba doon sa parable, no, ikwento lang natin na mabilis, there was a servant, ang laki ng utang niya sa master. One day, decidido na yung master na ipakulong lahat ng servants niya na may utang sa kanya. But this servant, the unmerciful servant, begged. Nagmakaawa siya na wag siyang ikulong. And the master, being compassionate as he is, pinatawad niya yung utang ng servant. Hindi na pinabayaran sa kanya. After that, nung nakalaya na yung unmerciful servant, on his way home, he saw one of his fellow servants na merong malaking utang sa kanya. Anong nangyari? Dahil naalala niya na merong utang tong servant na ito sa kanya na hindi pa siya binabayaran, nagalit siya. So dinuro-duro niya yung servant, talagang sinisingil niya ng utang, nagmakaawa sa kanya yung sinisingil niya, wala talaga, pinakulong niya nung hindi makapagbayad. But people saw the actions of this unmerciful servant, they got really mad. Sinumbong nila yung unmerciful servant doon sa king, doon sa master na nagpatawad sa kanya. Right? Ano nangyari when the master learned of what the unmerciful servant did? Let's read that in verse 32. Then the master called the servant in. You wicked servant, he said, I canceled all that debt of yours because you begged for me to, or you begged me to. Shouldn't you have had mercy on your fellow servant just as I had on you? You see verse 33? Verse 33 is a direct teaching of the master. Tinuturuan ng master yung unmerciful servant kung paano dapat siya nag-isip. Paano ba raw dapat nag-isip yung unmerciful servant? Ano ba dapat ang inisip ng unmerciful servant? Dapat inisip mo na ikaw nga pinatawad ka ng master mo. By thinking that way, kung ginawa niya yan kanina, hindi siya magagalit doon sa kanyang kapatid na may utang sa kanya. If only he thought that way. Remembering that he was also forgiven will lessen your intensity of anger. So ganun din in our everyday life. Just remember the many times that other people also forgave us. That God Himself forgives us every day. In fact, ang Diyos laging galit sa atin araw-araw because of our sins. But what does He do? Every day, He gives us another chance. He forgives us, He gives us another chance. It never ends. His mercies never ends. Once you realize that God forgives you over and over again, mawawalan ka talaga ng motivation na magalit sa ibang tao, mas magiging forgiving ka. And the more forgiving you become, the less angry you will become. The intensity of the anger that you will feel, hindi magiging ganon kalakas because you know that you are also a person who is constantly being forgiven. So who are you not to forgive other people na nagkasala sa'yo or naka-offend sa'yo? Diba kahit nga sa Lord's Prayer, diba sinasabi yan? Sinasabi rin yung idea of forgiveness, no? And forgive us our trespasses and as we forgive those who trespass against us. You see how does that work? Bakit ka inutusan na humingi ng tawad sa Diyos? To activate your memory that, hey, you have sins and you are constantly being forgiven by God. At ano ang effect nun? Next statement. Because you know that you are constantly being forgiven by God, ano nangyayari? We forgive those who trespass against us. Hindi mo magagawa yun, forgive people who trespass against you, if you don't put inside your head the idea that God is constantly forgiving you. So remembering that God is constantly forgiving you, remembering that other people are constantly forgiving you will make you a less angry person. Yan yung point, no? Ihabol ko lang din yung number 3 kapag talagang super galit ka na, you are already on fire, deep breathing will also help. Hinga ka lang ng hinga ng malalim because studies show when you do that, yung upper region of the brain mo, mas na-activate siya kapag mas marami kang oxygen na ini-inhale. You are also increasing the blood flow in the upper region of the brain, which is good because it will be more effective in shielding itself from the influences of the lower part of the brain. So hinga ka lang ng malalim, no? 3 times, 4 times, 5 times hanggang sa kumalma yung iyong emotion. Alright? And of course, number 4, ano rin, no? Another anticipation tip is kung talagang sobrang galit ka na, nag-aapoy ka na sa galit, pwede ka rin naman mag-walk out just like what you do during the spark phase. Oo, pero tatandaan mo kaya nga meron ditong but, no? Oo, na along the way, after mo magpakalma, aayusin mo pa rin yung problema. Hindi yung nag-walk out ka lang, tapos wala na, hindi mo na binalikan, hindi na ayos yung problema. The next time that the situation happens again, sasabog ka na naman. You need to resolve this. Alright? Yun nga lang, bibigyan mo ng time yung sarili mo na magpababa muna ng emotion before you can become rational about the situation that made you feel angry. Alright? So that's all about anticipation. I hope you find the process of anticipation very helpful in helping you deal with your anger. If you have any questions or comments about the technique of anticipation to deal with your anger, comment lang kayo sa baba. Or questions, if you have, comment lang kayo sa baba. I'm going to do my best to answer those questions. Okay? So thank you everyone for listening. Until the next video, dito sa ating series on anger management. I'll see you next time. Bye and God bless.